We will do whatever is necessary to support our friend and ally Belgium in bringing to justice those who are responsible. And this is yet another reminder that the world must unite. We must be together, regardless of nationality or race or faith, in fighting against the scourge of terrorism. We can and we will defeat those who threaten the safety and security of people all around the world.
As they pick up the pieces of shattered lives and bodies at the Brussels airport and a subway station, one thing is now drastically crystal to those who specialize in such matters. The level of preparedness by the Belgian government to a terrorist attack on their soil by the Islamic State killers was woefully inadequate. Their opinion that they might be left alone as something of a neutral nation was fatally naive. And with this latest declaration of war, the European Union itself is at risk of imploding. Perhaps something else that needs to happen in order to present a proper front to those who quietly plot and take advantage of hubris. Our guest is a consultant for the U.S. government and the private sector on terrorism and global threats. On-the-ground research in more than 60 countries. Now director at the CSIS Transnational Threats Project, where he investigates terrorism. Welcome Thomas Sanderson to the Hardline. Thomas, thanks so much for joining us, and let's get right to that point. People who today say that the Belgian government simply did not prepare well enough. There simply is a severe lack of preparation in many European countries right now, and this was inevitable, and the next attack is also inevitable. Your take?
Well, Belgium, I think, certainly had warning that this was coming. They've had a number of attacks and attempted plots on their territory, from the attack on the Jewish Museum to other plots to the attempt on the train that was foiled by the Americans. And certainly the strong connection between Belgium and the Paris attacks would certainly lead Belgian authorities to believe that something could happen there. And I do believe that they were working hard on this effort here. However, you're working on clandestine groups that are very good about operational security and information security, that put air gaps between themselves and other parts of the European network. I'm sure they put a lot of men and resources on this, men and women and resources on this, just as the French did. But you are very challenged in trying to stop a group like this.
Is it not fair to say, though, there are critics noting that there are zones, we talk about these no-go zones again. There are places simply where the Belgian government won't go. There's been a feeling there that if we leave them alone, if we don't get involved, they won't come to us and won't kill our people. That's stunningly naive in this day and age, is it not?
It is, if that, in fact, is what the Belgian government has been practicing. I don't think that they're thinking if we leave them alone, they won't come after us. I just think this is an incredibly hard target, and it is, for them to go after. But any police and law enforcement community can use better equipment, better resources, more people, more money, and certainly more information sharing. So they certainly have these no-go zones, and that is a problem that definitely needs to be addressed. So I don't think they are ignoring the problem. I think the problem is just that hard to crack. The French have top flight folks, and they could not prevent that attack from happening, despite having the Charlie Hebdo attack earlier last year.
You mentioned the French authorities here, and I want to bring those into them. A 55-page report from French anti-terrorism authorities talks about what they knew, what they've learned, and what they still do not know. It would seem that specifically in the European Union, people are saying they're covering up their deficiencies here to try and make the people feel as if they are safe.
Well, they could be doing that. There's no doubt about it that institutions, whether law enforcement or private sector or anyone, doesn't want to show their deficiencies. And it could be the case with the French police. And you and I don't know that. I did read that same report. I read the synopsis of it in the New York Times. And it also showed some incredibly good techniques and tactics on the part of these terrorists, using the cell phones of the people inside the Bataclan concert hall, dropping their own cell phones and using those of the concert goers. I mean, people who really thought ahead against this. Again, very tough targets, encrypted devices, networks that are impenetrable or very difficult to penetrate. This is hard work. That does not mean that they're not hiding deficiencies. They probably are hiding some deficiencies. But I think that's simply a practice that governments do when faced with great challenges like this.
I got about 30 seconds left, and here's a point that you brought up a little bit here. Facebook activated its safety check this morning for users located in Brussels. You mentioned throwaway phones, apps that hide IDs, social media that's out there as well. I know there's only 30 seconds here, but is there any way to really attack this efficiently and get to this core, this black hole that the terrorists hide in?
It's super difficult to do that. I don't know where we go from here, but they have massive advantages on their side. The no-go networks in neighborhoods, the social media advantage, which far outstrips us, the movement across loose borders in Europe and into the Middle East and North Africa,
And there are so many other things that we have to continue to look at here. For instance, there are 94 returned jihadists currently living in Molenbeek, Brussels. That in itself is part of the issue here that the Belgian authorities need to look at, and others, because quite frankly, they are still right underneath their noses. Thomas Sanderson, thanks so much for joining us. Now, a different kind of battle taking place today and tonight in America. One for the hearts and minds of voters in Utah and Arizona. The political animal. We'll tackle that and more next here on The Hardline.